Hey guys, stick around to the end of the video to see where I'm thinking about building a bigger and better blind. You guys gave me a ton of great feedback on the last stand, so I want your feedback on this one as well. What's going on, guys? It's Jake and Asher back in the woods at my upstate New York farm. Been a crazy week. I was hoping that the next video that I was going to put out would be 2022 New York deer hunting video, but unfortunately it hasn't gone so well up here. We were hit with the snowstorm that Buffalo got. We had to drive through there from Tennessee, so that was the first struggle. And then when I finally got out in the stand, I had an incident where I brought a bucket that I thought was empty, but it was full of paint. And when the hunt was over, it was pitch dark. And I put some of my camera equipment in there just to discover that when I got back to the garage, all my stuff was covered in paint, so that was a whole fiasco. After a week in the woods, we didn't have any luck. So I figured that now that my deer stand video has almost 37,000 views, which is crazy. Can't believe that many people viewed it, and got a lot of subscribers from it, which is pretty exciting for me. So I figured I'd give a 1-year update after using it a handful of times and let you know what things I think I should have done differently and which things I love. And we'll just check in on the stand and show you guys how it's doing. We're almost there. I was nervous when I first got here, when I was walking out to check on the stand, because as you can see, a lot of trees have fallen out here because of the microburst that happened earlier in the year. It was crazy. So I was nervous that either another tree would fall into it or one of the trees that it's built onto would collapse, but luckily no harm and it's still in good shape. So we're just walking up to it right now and give you a perspective of where it is. This is not our property. This is a farmer's property who lives a couple towns over, and this is all our property. And then it ends about, I don't know, 500 feet that way. Usually I would never put a stand on the property line. I just think that's disrespectful. Look at that, just walking up to it. Some fresh poop right there. They farm. It's not like I'm gonna interfere with anyone right there. I don't think anyone else who's hunting that land, I don't know if they allow people to hunt it, but regardless, I don't think I'd be interfering on anybody else's hunt in this spot, or else I wouldn't put it right on the property line. I've never seen anyone else out there. I know our neighbors over there hunt, our neighbors on the other woods over there hunt, and there's stands all along the cornfield, obviously, the food source. So that was really the reasoning why I put it here. One of the cons to it is how far away from our house it is, but we have ATV trails and whatnot, so that's a little bit how I chose the location. I was also, I was out here one day and my dogs were both sniffing along this trail, and there's a little wildlife trail that's going, a little highway, and it's going about 50 feet in front of where we're standing right now in that direction. So I decided that this was probably a pretty good area. We don't have any stands in this area. We've kind of have spots covered all throughout the backwoods. So I wanted to be kind of near the corn and also near this highway. And my mom, this is her property, so I asked her to walk through the woods in this area and tell me which trees I could build a stand off. And the reason why I built one rather than buying one was for 2 reasons. One, we had a bunch of material. A lot of my family's in construction, so we had an old deck that had been taken apart, so we had a ton of lumber in the barn. So naturally I thought, well, I'll use it to make a stand. So this was a pretty perfect tree, and I wanted to make a stand big enough that I could bring another person. Our neighbors have one in the woods over there, and I saw that, and it's similar design, only rather than being perpendicular to the trees, it comes out and it's kind of like a deck, and I liked that, but it required a little bit more construction. And this one I kind of made it like a tree house. If it was up to me, I would have chose trees that were a little bit further apart so I can make it bigger, but beggars can't be choosers, so that's what I decided to do. We had some Trex decking in the barn. It was just all, I think I spent $30 on this, and it was just on hex bolts. I made it, I think 3x6, which I'll show you up there, and I can put in some of the build so you can see what, if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. But I decided to make it 3x6, and I regret doing it, so that's one of the cons. So let me bring you up there. One of the things I don't like is that these steps can get a little slippery. Again, I don't live here. I live about 1,000 miles away, so I'm not up here that often. But if I was frequently here and I wanted to really commit to using this other than, you know, for bow season, for a longer period of time, I would put some of that, the grip tape on each step. That would make it a lot easier, especially when there's snow. So there's a lot of people that commented on that video saying, oh, that thing's gonna be broken in a year. I'll let that answer itself. And it's still sturdy. But there are some things that some of the people who were not so nice on the video were correct about. One being the size of it. It is a little narrow. So I thought it would be beneficial to have like one person on this side, one person on this side facing out. But as I've come to realize, width is almost a little bit more important than depth or length or whatever you want to call it. Just so you can turn around and just really have the advantages of space. And it's kind of tough to do that when it's so narrow. So if I am really aggressive, I'd like to add on over here because we have about a foot of space right there. Some things don't change. So that's one of the other improvements that I'd make, is just to widen it a little bit and change this railing system so I'm not so crammed in here. And that will go along with one of the other improvements is, so I definitely want to make the change where I have a roof and sides. And what I want to do is basically just change out these 4x4 posts that I have in each corner and put in 8-foot posts, and then I can just make like a lean-to roof. Not anything crazy. I'm not trying to build, you know, a redneck blind or anything crazy. I just wanted to have a good spot in the woods where I still felt like I was hunting in the woods and I could have good views of each direction. And since I like to film my hunts, I wanted to have a setup where I could film a hunt easily, because it's so difficult to film your own deer hunts. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it, but it is very difficult. With these railings being so high, I put these at a bad location. I mean, that's over like counter height, so it's over, I think it was 40 inches. And I mostly did that for safety because I wanted to feel, you know, secure in here, especially that it's built between trees and whatnot. So that's one thing. If you're sitting on a bucket or sitting in a chair, first of all, the chair will take up the width of this, so I need to clear out these somehow, just like trim that off and trim that off. That way it doesn't ever interfere with walking in and out. And then once I build it up 8 feet high, I can lower the railing area and have a window where I can shoot out of, and then have a roof over. That's one of the improvements I like to make. It's not even an improvement that I want to make. I kind of need to, because the wind off this field, being as high as we are, is brutal. It's miserable. You can't really stay out here. Even right now where it's not a windy day, I can still feel the wind, and it really cuts down hunts because you just get so cold. It's either at your back or in your face. Neither's very good. If we were able to make, you know, a wind block wall and have kind of a shooting window that's still a little bit bigger, that's what I want to do. The last complaint I have about this stand, and I'm starting with the negative stuff because I always like to end on a positive note. The last complaint I have is, as you can see, there's no real trail coming to here. So it's awful loud walking through the woods, and it's at the very back of the property. Again, I can show a Google map of the location of the stand versus where our house is. So it can be really loud walking back here. And one thing that I was going to do next year was just clear the trails, because we have all those ATV trails. That's what we were walking in here. My uncle keeps them clean. He has a tractor, and he uses all the lumber back here to cut firewood and whatnot. So if we could, you know, blow the leaves off before the season and clear a trail down here, that would change a lot. You know, noise, that impact that we have coming in. Yesterday I blew 2 deer out of here just by walking to the stand. So that's one thing to think about. I mean, they'll smell you regardless, but it just limits how much noise you make and your disruption on the woods. So now just to touch on the pros. Again, I said it earlier, location. Right next to a cornfield. You can see kernels all around. So that's behind us, and then here, walk you over to it because you can see it from here. there's a wildlife trail that runs right through it. It goes right through there. It heads up the hill. You can kind of see where it's disturbed, or you can't, I don't know. But I put a trail camera on this tree right here the second day. Before I moved it somewhere else, I had it right here. And I caught does walking through here, and they cruise through the field. You can see corn, and I know squirrels get at it a lot. You can see corn all under the stand, and I saw corn damage over there earlier in the year. So I know they cruise through here. That's really beneficial. Even if they're not nearby, like they'll end up in that cornfield. The bedding is down by our house, and they'll walk between here and the cornfield, and you see it. That's their lanes, and they'll cut in. They'll come in front of the stand and catch the ATV trails a lot of the time. That's where I've seen them. So the location's a huge positive. The second benefit of this stand is just comfort and safety. Sometimes I just don't want to be in a deer stand. I don't know if anybody else feels that. Sometimes I really do. You can feel like you're hiding in the woods and like part of nature a little bit more when you're in a hang-on stand or a climbing stand or something like that. Just feel like you're sitting in a tree. You're not really in a big thing that sticks out like this. But sometimes I just want comfort, and my biggest fear is that I'm gonna nod off and fall out of a stand and the harness is gonna not catch me or something. So going in one of these where there's railings around it, A, you feel safe, B, you feel comfortable. Like you can, if your butt falls asleep, you can stand up and kind of like move around a little bit. Back to the filming thing, it's a lot easier to film. You can bring a tripod, you can bring more than one camera and not feel like you're gonna drop it or something like that. So that's the biggest benefit to this stand, if you ask me. And you can ultimately bring a friend or bring your kid or something like that. So just to summarize my 1 year review of the stand, you got to remember I use it for a week out of the year, and I don't live nearby. So for the week, I love this stand. It's incredible to be able to come up here and have a stand like this is available to use, especially when my daughter starts hunting and stuff like that. With that being said, is there a lot of work and changes that I need to put on this? Absolutely. The walls are the biggest thing with wind, and to really maximize the benefits of having a stand like this is in the comfort department. I built this whole thing and I'm still struggling to be comfortable with wind. The other things that I want to be able to do to make this stand better are pretty difficult. I wanted to add some like food plots in the woods and to change the lanes a little bit. So I encourage deer to come to this location. It's very difficult hunting up here in upstate New York because there's a ton of competition. I mean, from my stand I can see the neighbors over there in their bright orange vests. So if a deer comes from that way, there's a lot of competition that they'd have to get through them. So if I can get them to come at this area from a different direction, it would be better. But again, I don't live here, so stuff like that is difficult. So I want to make it more of a spot that I can come and be comfortable for the week, and even if I don't see anything, it's still an enjoyable sit. Would I build again? Absolutely. Yeah, I just felt like I should give you guys an update since so many people have viewed it, and I know a lot of people had suggestions for stuff, and I took them all into consideration, even if they were presented me in a not so nice way. I heard you and I considered it. I think that's fair. So real quick, I'm gonna walk you to a hayfield where I want to build my next stand, just to give you a little preview. I don't know when that'll happen, but of course I'll film it and show it to you. I'll just introduce you to that spot before I end this video. If you made it this far, thank you. I'm not used to just staring at the camera talking to you. So without further ado, welcome to our hayfield. This is where I'm thinking about building my next blind. I want to build like a platform and either put a ground blind on the top of it or build like actual walls and make a full-on blind, like a treehouse blind. So while I was here, I started seeing some rubs along the field, and last year this massive buck, which if I can find a picture I'll put it in here, he apparently cruised right along this tree line, crossed the property right over there, and was shot by our neighbors. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. I want to keep the deer on this property, and it seems like this hayfield is kind of a central spot for them. So I'm talking to my mom to try to get her to let that farm over there, they farm these fields, and he wants to put corn here. So that'd be amazing if he could put corn here and then maybe do a food plot in this corner and possibly put that stand right here. The other spot that I was thinking about is over here. It's kind of tough over there because you can see the cat tower, and that's where they cross the property. I'll walk over there and show you. So we were just up there, and right over here I found this pretty fresh rub along this tree, and we have some clearing in here. And I'd put a stand there one morning. I put my ground blind in there. You can kind of see the trail that they've made over here, and that would be pretty convenient to the house. My house is right behind it. Be a nice short walk in the morning. But the problem here is the cornfield competition. So I'll show you that. The options are that corner, this corner, but where the deer are attracted to is down on the other side of this transmission tower. We call them cat towers because they look like cat ears. So we're on the other side of the transmission tower here, and this is where the deer go into that cornfield, kind of where Asher's about to walk. And I put a trail camera on that post and faced it in here and caught, you know, every night deer were crossing in and out of there. As you can see, there's a fresh rub. That wasn't there the other day. And I'll show you the buck that's been making it. He's young now, but he might be, looks like he touched on that one too again. That's very fresh. He's a small buck, but basically it's the only spot other than across the road at our pond where we've seen buck. And so the two spots I was thinking about are both on the other side of the property, or on the other side of the hayfield, in that corner and that corner. And I don't really know where over here would be a good spot, just because this is right up on the property line and they hunt right on the other side over there, so I don't want to do that. And I don't want to be close to the transmission tower. Basically, give me your suggestions. Again, I want to put a, you know, a 6x6 or an 8x8 platform, so I can bring, you know, 2 people even. My brother and dad don't hunt, but maybe I can get them up there and kind of show them what it's like in a comfortable environment. Plus, if I can sit up high and just enjoy this view, I'll take that as well, if you can even hear me with this wind. But thank you for watching. I'm gonna tune out now because it's cold and windy. I gotta drive back to Tennessee. So hopefully in the next video, I'll have me taking care of one of those big bucks that I have down there waiting for me. Thanks again, like, subscribe. We'll see you in Tennessee.